What is the story? Welcome back to the channel. So, today's question is, how do I prep and be ready for my first powerlifting meet? Now this question, there's an awful lot that I could go through and say, but I'm going to do my best to give you as much worthwhile information going into your first powerlifting meet and what to do on the day. However, to add to this, I would recommend checking out the No Lift podcast. I'll actually leave a couple of links down in the description of this video. So the No Lift podcast with Arthur Lynch, another Irish powerlifter, I believe at one stage last year posted a guide to meet day and prepping for your first powerlifting meet. I know Alan Thrall of Untamed Strength on YouTube also posted a video. And before my own first ever powerlifting meet, I read 2 articles online. I cannot remember the first one, but the second one was JTS, Juggernaut Training Systems, put up an article with some tips on what to bring and what to do for each lift, like how to go about composing yourself on the day, things like food and stimulants, like energy drinks, caffeine, etc. So, to begin, if you are thinking about competing, the first and most important thing I would recommend is get a coach. Get somebody that knows how to program powerlifting. Hire a powerlifting coach. Join a powerlifting club. We're lucky in Ireland that we have quite a few good powerlifting clubs, both in-person training and online training, that can give you the best shot possible of not only going in and having a good meet, potentially setting some PBs, having some PRs, whatever way you want to call it, but also being prepared for what is going to happen on the day. So that would be my first piece of advice. Get a damn coach. Secondly, if let's say you've signed up for your meet and you're prepped and you're ready to go, day one is your first meet, I would advise against treating it like a big blowout. I'm going to go for, a personal best on every lift. Now you can if everything's going super well, but what you do in comp and what you do in training are going to be 2 very, very different things. In competition, you're doing things to a standard. You've got 3 judges that are all going to assess each one of your lifts, and any minor technical fault that goes against the rule book of that comp, something as small as your bar, let's say on a squat, you rattle a little bit to one side and this side of the bar drifts down, that's a red light right there. These are the things you're going to have to consider. Plus in training in the gym, you've your own music, you've your own buzz, you can get up and go when you want. You can do your sets as fast or as slowly as you want. You have as much time as you want to get ready. That is not always the case at a powerlifting meet. You could be in a flight with 20 other people. So you could be lifting once every 15 to 20 minutes. You could be in a flight with 4 people and be lifting every 5 minutes, less. So it's never going to be ideal. This is why my next piece of advice would be have a handler. So what is a handler? Let's say you show up to comp, you have just signed up out of the blue, you're not part of any club, you've no powerlifting coach, or for some reason they couldn't make it. You want to have somebody in your corner that at least has a peripheral understanding of what you're about to get into. Even if this just happens to be worst case scenario, your gym training partner who, has an idea of what you're about to go through. Having somebody there, for example, that when you walk back from your opening attempt on squat can say, all right, that looked really good. What do you want to do next? And you go, okay, well, put it up 10 kilos. They can run to the top table and they can log your next attempt for you. You're not going to have to juggle everything yourself. You're like, oh, here, man, would you mind grabbing me a coffee? You've got somebody to run out to the front table, depending how big the venue is. Maybe even have to go across the street, get you a cup of coffee and all in between, let's say, bench and deadlift. There's like a 30-minute or 20-minute break. Having somebody there in your corner to take care of you is going to make a world of difference. Even down to small things or even big things. So small things like grabbing your water, handing you your towel after whatever, or putting the talc on your legs for your deadlift, or a bigger thing like if you're in a competition that allows knee wraps, somebody that knows how to wrap your knees the way you like. All these details the handler can cover, and it just reduces the stress on you for the day greatly, helping you choose your warm-ups as you warm up in the area before walking out on the comp floor, having somebody be honest with you about how things move on the floor, reminding you of your commands, giving you commands in your warm-ups. Having a handler is paramount. So that would be a massive, massive piece. If you are not in a club, or you don't have a coach, or for some reason your coach can't be there and they haven't assigned a handler, for the love of God, have a handler. But as I said, first piece of advice is have a coach. Second piece is don't overly depend on the notion that you're going in for a big PB fiesta. As I mentioned, you're going to be under the watchful eye of 3 judges. So that comes the next thing. You're going to have to familiarize yourself with the command. So at least the last 2 weeks or week of the competition, you're going to have to start practicing some of the lifts under the competition rules. So with a squat, your 3 commands are going to be squat, your 2 commands for squat are going to be squat and rack. So what that means is you're going to take your bar, you're going to walk it out, you're going to make sure your knees are extended, your feet don't move, you're in a nice straight line. You're going to get the squat command, you're going to drop down to full depth, which is crease of the hip below top of the knee. You're going to stand back up, and without moving at all, once you fully stand back up with knees straight, you'll wait for the judge that's in front of you to say rack. That is then the time for you to walk it back in. On your bench press, you're going to walk out, set yourself up, hands on the bar. You're probably going to get a lift out. Somebody's going to help lift it out. You get a lift out. When your elbows are fully extended and you're not moving on the bench at all, you're going to get the command to start the squat. It's going to start the squat, start the bench. I'm getting all tongue-tied now. I'm trying to think of all these small details. So you're going to come down from the start position. You're going to be on the chest, and you're going to push back into the fully upright position, and then and only then, when everything stops moving, your elbows are fully extended, will you get the rack command. The deadlift's the only one that doesn't have a massive amount of complication. You're going to walk out, you don't need a start command, you walk up to the bar. As soon as you're ready, you lift that motherfucker up to hip height, hold it there with your knees fully extended, hip extended, shoulders back, nice upright position. When the center judge is happy your attempt is finished, I'll give you the down command. So that's it. So you got 2 commands for squat, rack. You got 3 commands for bench, start, press, rack. You got 1 command for deadlift, down. You have to practice these far in advance, preferably, to your comp. I'm talking 3 weeks out, 2 weeks out, 1 week out, the week of. Just practice. Doesn't matter if it's at a big heavy weight. Familiarize yourself with that, because it doesn't matter how strong you are. If you miss those commands, the lift doesn't count. There's other technical details that go into the ins and outs of why you might miss a lift, like not hitting depth on the squat, or your feet moving or stumbling, or let's say in your bench your ass lifts up off the bench. Yeah, that doesn't count. Or like in some federations, if your head comes up. In some federations, if your heels come off the ground during the bench. So another big piece of the puzzle is familiarize yourself with the rule set of the federation or club or competition you're about to walk into. Yeah, like for example, if you're in the IPF, you're going to be squatting on a 20 kilo power bar, and you're going to be deadlifting on a 20 kilo power bar. In some federations and competitions, they have a 25 kilo squat bar, which is thicker. It's a little different. And they have you deadlift on a deadlift bar, which has a small amount of bend in the middle. So it's going to be a little bit of a different movement, a little bit of a different lift. Another consideration is, does the competition have you squat with a standard ER rack like I've got here behind me? Or does it use a big mono lift where you don't necessarily have to walk the weight out? You can just have the mono hooks move out of your way. Find these things out. Know what you're getting yourself into. As I mentioned, some competitions allow when you bring the bar down on the bench for your head to lift up. Some of them require the head to stay on the bench. Another one is some of them require you can have the heels up off the ground and just push through your toes. But the IPF, for example, your heels have to be flat. Some competitions allow you on your deadlift attempts, because no part of your body is really that can bleed is going to be making contact with the bar. They'll allow you to take your t-shirt off and wear just your singlet. Federations like the IPF don't allow that. You have to wear a t-shirt for all 3 lifts. So these are very important things to know before you go into your first meet. One that got me, that I didn't even know about until the day, on my 3rd competition, I was walking onto the platform for my opening squat, and I started putting on my wrist wrap as I was walking out, and they were like, no. So I found out there and then, in the midst of competition, The only piece of equipment that you can adjust on the platform is your belt. So that means wrist wraps have to be on. If you're doing knee wraps, they all have to be on. Nothing can be put on or adjusted or changed other than the belt while you're on the platform. So if a wrist wrap falls off on your way out, tough shit. You gotta walk. You can take it and walk back and get it on. You've only got that 1 minute. So while we're on the topic of that 1 minute, here's another piece. You'll notice a clock up behind you that's ticking down from 1 minute from the moment they say platform ready or bar is loaded. That is going to be the signal to you and the platform crew that they're ready for you to walk out. So once you get your bar is loaded, the timer is going to start ticking down. Now, that timer is not the full 1 minute for you to get your attempt done. It's the 1 minute for you to receive your first command. So if it's on the squat, you have a minute to walk out, set yourself up, get on the bar, walk it out, adjust your feet, and when you're ready, you extend your knees, you take your breaths, you look at the judge. He'll then give you your squat command. The timer does not matter after that. But there's something else. When you get that command, that doesn't mean you have to start that exact second. If you are in your squat and they say squat, take your breath, take your time, and go when you're ready. I once watched good friend of mine, Mark Stell, I believe it was Nationals, perhaps Junior Nationals one year, he took 260 on the squat for his third attempt. Fantastic squat. Good struggle, but he got it. And he took his time setting up. He walked out, took his time, got on the bar, got super tight. He did not start when they told him to squat. He waited till he was ready. That level of patience is going to be required for you to get in the zone and get that lift. A lot of people will rush out onto the platform as fast as they can and attempt the weight. And before they even realize what's happened, they're already in the back going, fuck, I missed it. So take your time. It's your time out there, so use it. At this point, I'll preface that I didn't really prepare a whole pile of notes for this like I probably should have. I've got a little few bits scribbled down so I have an idea of what I can mention that I don't want to leave out. And I'm sure plenty of people who have competed in powerlifting will have other great pieces of insight, and I would encourage you, if you've watched this far, leave a comment down below for anything you think should be included on this list, or any worthwhile resources you think would be worthwhile sharing for the people who are going into their first meet. Send those across to me on Instagram, or you can post them below or message on Twitter. Any of those are fine, and I will make sure they're distributed and people can get a hold of them, because the more resources people have going into their first meet, the better. So, taking a step back from the actual competition day, a couple of things you can do prior. I would say double check your equipment. Let's say it's the night before your first meet. Pack your bag yourself and make sure everything is in there. Everything you're going to need for the whole day. Your singlet, your belt, your knee sleeves or wraps, your shoes, your socks, your underwear, your wrist wraps. If I haven't said belt already, belt. T-shirts. Bring more than one. You might get wet during the day. You might get rained on, or you might sweat, or you might spill water on yourself, or whatever reason you might otherwise get wet. Bring a spare couple of t-shirts. 2 or 3 t-shirts would be my advice. Also on the t-shirt, 100% cotton is preferable for the likes of squat and bench. It adheres to the bench and the bar a lot easier than something with polyester or like silky smooth. Would advise against it. Also, just as they're becoming more popular, A7 bar grip t-shirts are not going to be acceptable in most competitions. I actually had a guy show up at Ab Series 4 wanting to wear one of these things, and I had to tell him you can't do that. Like, so just bear that one in mind. Bring a couple of extra t-shirts. Bring some extra socks, because again, may get wet, may step in something. Make sure, as I mentioned in the list, bring your deadlift socks, because you will have to have deadlift socks to deadlift. You can't risk cutting yourself on the bar, which is a real possibility coming up the shins. So a couple of extra socks and a couple of extra pairs of underwear would not go amiss. It is not uncommon, particularly for the ladies, on max effort squats and deadlifts, to have bathroom related accidents. You might piss yourself, all right? So you're going to want to have something to change into. Bear that one in mind. It sounds embarrassing, but it is what it is. Other things. Bring your own baby powder for your deadlifts, to have it on your thighs, so when you pull the bar up, it is not getting stuck on your skin. Bring your own chalk if you can. So Preferably a block of chalk over liquid chalk, but in any case, have your own chalk, just in case there's none there, just in case somebody accidentally, for some reason, puts the baby powder in with the chalk, or the chalk in the venue is just shite, which apparently has happened. Bring your own chalk. If you have spare equipment, bring it. So a spare pair of squat shoes, a spare singlet, a spare set of knee sleeves, a spare pair of wrist wraps. Bring them with you for two good reasons. One, if any of your gear breaks, or like I mentioned with the potential accident, if you piss one singlet, you've got another one. But another good reason is, I have seen it where unfortunate lifters have lost bags in transit, left them on trains, or forgotten some equipment. You might be the only reason they're able to actually walk out and compete. So, you happen to be a size 9 shoe with a Reebok Legacy lifter. You've got two pairs, and this guy that forgot his squat shoes is exactly the same. Wears the same shoes, same size. You just saved his meat. So you'll win some nice karma points there. So if you got spare gear, throw it in your bag. Assuming it's not going to take up all the room, or you got to bring a spare backpack, just do it. Now, other bits and pieces. Bring your phone charger, bring your headphones, and bring food. Bring food, bring water, bring stimulants, if that's what you're into. The day you're in for is potentially very, very, very long. Okay, you might get there at 9 a.m. and be there till 5 p.m. It depends. If you're going as part of a club, the guy handling you might be there all day. Maybe that's your lift. You could be there all day. Some venues will have food, but it's usually not the best. It might be in the back arsehole of nowhere that has no food around it. So bring some damn food. Bring water. Same reason. There might not be a lot of water available. I would personally recommend bringing 2 1.5 or 2 litre bottles. At the very least, bring a 2 litre bottle, and bring some energy drinks, Monster, Rain, whatever your buzz is. If the venue might potentially have hot water and you want coffee, sure. But bring some food. Bring 2 to 3 meals, something you can eat cold or something you can just eat. My recommendation is, I know it depends on your diet, because that's another big one as well, I should say, before I make any recommendations. With all this, don't change your food leading up to a meet. You'll sometimes see people get on this buzz where they feel like they need to try eating something new, or eating something different, or doing something different. You know, you get to the meet and you start like warming up in a way you've never done before. Or you're doing incremental jumps on the bar for squats that you've never done before, just because you don't want to cause hassle with how everyone else on that bar is warming up. Don't. Stick to your own plan. If anything needs to change, it can be changed after the meet. Just do everything you've done, for better or for worse, going into the meet. Do everything the same. So eat the same foods, do the same routine, and go and have a successful meet. Your goal should be to go 9 for 9, alright? So you're not going to do that if you start deciding, you know what, I think I need to start doing fucking hip mobility. That's going to add those 5 kilos on, you know what I mean, even though I've never done it before. So as mentioned, bring your own food, bring your own water, bring your own energy drinks, and keep it all the same as things you would have eaten prior. So my recommendation would be, cook some meals beforehand that can sit in your bag and aren't going to spoil. If you've got one of those 6-pack bags, I'd bring one of those. Or bring something you can drink. A little bit of protein powder in a beaker, some water if you'll drink it with that. Or if you can get it nearby, some milk after you've done your comp is great. As a nice, easy, bioavailable source of carbs, protein and fat. But again, stick to what you normally do. Follow what your coach will say, assuming you have one, and your handler. Alright? As we come into the competition, assuming you've done everything right up to this point, depending on the competition you're in, you're going to have to weigh in either 2 hours before the competition, is usually when the window opens, or some comps allow 24-hour weigh-ins. Doesn't matter what it is, just make sure you're weighed in. I would, if you've got the option of a 24-hour weigh-in, take it. You can do whatever cut you want into your comp, you know what I mean? I personally wouldn't recommend it for your first comp. Just weigh in at whatever you weigh in at. Don't worry about cutting down to a different weight class or anything like that. Just weigh in at whatever you weigh in. But sure, you may as well weigh in. Like for example, if you're competing on a Saturday and you've got to weigh in at 9:30 a.m. on Friday, sure. Maybe the day before you have your last meal at like 4 or 5 o'clock and you decide you're not going to eat or drink anything for the rest, and you're going to weigh in maybe a teeny little bit lighter. Going into your 9:30 weigh-in, you can drink your water, your electrolytes, and eat your food as normal through Friday into your competition Saturday. That's not really any harm, but other than that, I wouldn't really recommend anything extreme. Just weigh in at what you weigh in at. Once you've weighed in, you may be asked to give your first attempts. This may also happen as you come in on the day of your competition. So have some numbers in mind. Again, speak to your coach. Pardon me. Speak to your handler. What do you think your first attempt should be? Now, as a general piece of advice, let your openers be something manageable, something easy. Something you know you can do for at least a triple. That would be how I would usually advise it, because you want to be able to go out, and the last thing you want to have to worry about is the load on the bar. You want to know you can lift it, and all you're really thinking about after that then is following the commands, taking your time and getting in the zone and the flow of the competition. So pick 3 openers you know you can hit. You may, depending on the competition, have your equipment inspected. They may just make sure it's acceptable within the competition. So I know some t-shirts, for example, have to be IPREF approved, underwear, etc. Some belts, things like that. SBD and A7 are usually all fine, barring the bar grip t-shirts. So that should be all grand, but you may need those to be inspected. And you may be asked for your rack heights. So for squat and bench, as you're going to be taking it out of the rack, you can see here the EO rack behind me. There are numbers on the inside lengths here, where you see the bar sitting on. They go from 1 to 32. You're going to have to give heights for your bench and your rack. If you've never used an EO rack, which most competitions will use, just get a bit of a chance before the competition starts, go over to the racks and see where it feels about normal for you to take off for a squat and take off for a bench. All right, you're going to need those numbers, so don't guess them, don't base them off somebody else's, or like, oh, I think I'm about this. As a rule of thumb for squat, it should be roughly sternum height. All right, so something that you can get yourself under. You don't have to be super fucking low, like below your nipples, or super high around your chin or your nose, because then you're going to have to tiptoe it off and potentially not be able to squat it in a low bar position, assuming you're doing low bar. So again, about sternum height, so about a straight line from your shoulder to your wrist, that should be high enough. Then with the bench, same idea. With it, you want to be able to lift it off with only a slight flex in your elbow. When you straighten your arms, you should be able to lift off and clear the J-hooks. But in most cases, you're going to have a handoff at the competitions. If you know who's given the handoffs, assuming it's not somebody you can select, my advice would be ask them to hand off one of your warm-ups, just so you can get on the same page and see how the handoffs are given. It can be a bit of a pain in the arse. I've been in competitions where the guy giving the handoff helped me make my lift, because again, he's such a fucking comfortable handoff. Where I've had ones where the guy like fucking flung the bar out at me, you know what I mean? And it nearly cost me my second attempt, which made me go a lot more reserved on my third attempt than I needed to. So bear those things in mind. It can be a massive pain in the hole if the lift off is not in cue with what you want. So that's not necessarily that people are giving you it's a bad handoff, but it might be not because they're bad at giving handoffs, but they don't know what way you want to do it. I'm personally not a fan of the on my count 3, 2, 1. My personal one is when I take my big breath. So I do this when I bench. I lock myself in and I go, and that's their signal to lift me off. So my 2 regular training partners would be Vinny Chung and Mario Morelli, and they both know that down to a T. Mario doesn't even fucking take a hand off. He's just a tank. So in any case, some people won't take a hand off, but if you are someone that takes a hand off, try get the handoff guy or your own handoff guy if it's possible, and sort that out. In any case, gang, I'm rolling things around in my mind, seeing if there's any other bits and pieces of advice I can spit at you before I wrap this one up. More so, you've prepped for the meet, you're familiar with the rules, you've got all the equipment, you've got a handler, you've got your first attempts, your weigh-in, your rack heights, your food, your gear, it's all sorted out. You know what to do when you get there. Suppose the last thing to really say is have fun. Enjoy it. Powerlifting is good fun. It's a very one-dimensional, simple sport. Who lifts the most weight at whatever body weight? It's great crack. And the best thing about it for you is you can do your first meet and you can set yourself a standard, and then you can try and beat that the next time, and beat that the next time, and beat that the next time. So it adds another layer of progression to your training, just than arbitrarily training to be stronger in general, or fitter in general, or more jacked in general. You now have dates that you can test under rules, under judges, where it's not debatable, and assuming you do it well, it's recognized in the powerlifting world as an acceptable squat. So we have a resource called openpowerlifting.org, and you will see your results up there and how you measure out compared to other people. It can be a bit depressing sometimes, I'm not going to lie to you, but it's still great to see each time you're running your own little race with yourself and each incremental time you're getting better and better and better and stronger and stronger and stronger. So to bring it all the way back, if you're considering your first meet, I will link some more resources down below that you can go and check out that may be helpful to you, may help you figure out what to do. Maybe there's some pieces of advice I've missed that they'll give you in those videos and articles and podcasts that I'll link. But otherwise, team, if you can think of anything, please, for the love of God, leave a comment down below, send me a DM. Let's help some new people get into powerlifting. And if you are considering getting into powerlifting, there's so many good coaches out there. There's so many good clubs that you can go and be a member of. You don't have to go through the whole process alone. Very, very good, very experienced, high level over here. Like if I was to, like, naturally, everybody knows, I'm sure at this stage, with the propaganda in the back, I'm a member of Advanced Barbell Systems, ABS. You can join ABS online. When the gyms reopen, you'll be able to join ABS in person. You're fully decked out, fully geared, competition, quality powerlifting club. You'll be held to a high standard, and there's a lot of great coaches. Other than that, there is Strength Militia up north. There is City Gym in Limerick. There is Chaos Gym in Kildare. There is Odyssey Strength online. Who else do we got? There is, I'm probably going to miss one powerlifting club now and look like an asshole. Should have made a list. Urban Barbell. Can't remember where they are. My bad. There are a lot of great clubs, a lot of great coaches. A lot of them are on Instagram. Go check them out, see which one gels the best with you. Get into a conversation, and this could be the start of something great for you. So, if you've asked this question, as this person did, and you're considering your first meet, maybe you want to sign up for one, go grab a coach, and you will be shocked at how well and how strong you can do with the right guidance. All right, gang, I'm out of here. Appreciate the support so far. Please, if you haven't already, subscribe, ring the bell, drop the like, and next time those question boxes go up, you send one in and I'll do a video for you too. Gang, I'm out of here. Have a great day. Talk to you next time.